Hi, I'm Zardo of the Silver Elves, and I'm here today to talk to you about the elven method of reading tarot, which differs a little bit from the usual way tarot is read. I'm going to use this, which is the Tarot of the Elves deck, which is another version of the Weight Rider deck, which most modern tarot decks are. And we're going to talk about how people usually do tarot. Usually, Silverflame will join us here. I will be a reader and I will be shuffling the cards, but at some point I will give the deck to the person I'm reading for, in this case Silverflame, and she will shuffle the deck, or she will cut the cards into 2 or 3 stacks, then put them back together. Would you do that, please? Just go ahead and shuffle and as much as you want. Then cut the cards, put them down, and cut them into stacks. Okay, and then put them back together as you please. Okay, and then what almost always happens is the person takes the deck and then they start to read from the top of the deck, putting cards in the center and what's over it, and the inner world and what's in the past and the outer world and the near future and so forth, if you're doing the Celtic spread. Now, back when we were in the Elf Queen's Daughters, back in the mid-1970s, and the Elf Queen's Daughters were active, we had a brother named Athelis Seltome of the Fox River Vortex, and he came up with this different way of doing the cards for elves, which we always thought was quite brilliant. So instead, when he got to this point of getting the cards back, instead of reading from the top of the deck, card after card after card, he would continue shuffling until 1, 2, or 3. In his case, he did 1 card, but we added 2 or 3 cards to it, and you'd lay those out. Now, in our opinion, adding so you can have up to 3 cards is a much better way. I mean, the tarot deck is a language, you could say, of 78 symbolic meanings. When you combine them, you definitely have a much wider range of possibilities for the language, or symbolic language, that you are expressing. So in doing that, he made, in our opinion, the whole flow of the tarot much better. However, in our years of doing this, in which we have done, I won't tell you the number of years, but the fact that we've done somewhere in the vicinity of 70,000 to 75,000 readings for other people, not including the readings for ourselves. And we find that sometimes you're simply going to get more than 2 or 3 cards laid out. You're going to get sometimes 4 or 5, or sometimes even if you do it long enough, you'll wind up with half the deck. And we refer to that as babbling. So we just put those cards back into the deck and we keep shuffling. Now there's a little bit of trick to this, and the trick is that you use one hand to contain the cards and use the other hand in time to shuffle them as quick as you can. There's a little bit of competition in doing that, and it's kind of competition between your 2 hands, and that way you get cards to fall. There's this other aspect, which is sometimes cards don't come completely out. They only come partially out, like those did, and you have to decide yourself whether you want to accept those cards that come partially out, or which come out, all the way. Will you accept those partial cards, or you only do cards that come out entirely? So this is how we elves do the cards. We think that is a better, more interesting for us, and gives us a much wider range of possible meanings for every deck in every position as the cards come out. Now what I'm doing here is while I've been talking to you is I am just putting out a few cards for the elven people overall and for our present and future. You'll notice we don't use reversed that some cards do, because when you do it this way, they can come this way, that way, that way, that way. I mean, there's all sorts of ways they can come. If you wanted to, instead of reverse per se, you could take them as the ones that show up and the ones that are face down. The ones that are face down might be interpreted as being hidden energy that isn't quite seen, whereas those that are face up are those that really are shown and are more easily seen in the world. And so here we have our reading here for the elven people, and in the present we have the Queen of Cups and the Seven of Swords. Now, the Seven of Swords often indicates some conflict, but also eventually the mastering of conflict, getting beyond conflict. And the Queen of Cups indicates a love energy, a giving energy, particularly a receptive energy that enables one to overcome and master conflict. And over that we have the Six of Cups, which is an energy of love and union. Inwardly, we have the 10 of the major arcana. This is generally called the Wheel of Fortune, and here we're at a place where it feels like anything can happen. We're spinning the wheel, and we're going to see if good fortune comes to us or not. And it could be something very big when it does. Behind it we have the Three of Swords, which usually is conflict of some sort. Sometimes betrayal, an indication of people coming in different directions at things. And we have the Ace of Pentacles, stones, coins, has various meanings, and that card generally indicates a beginning, a new beginning of sometimes financial energy, but it could also be establishing oneself in the world. So there's a bit of a struggle from the past about establishing our place in the world, which according to elven lore is quite true. Outwardly, what we're encountering in the world overall, we have the Ten of Wands, okay, which is often a card of successful power and journeying in the world. We have the Five of Wands, which is a card of struggle, using your power to get what you want, to achieve what you want. And the Knight of Swords, going forth actively seeking what you want. So seeking to master the world, and in fact having the great probability and possibility of doing that. In the near future, we have the Seven of Wands, very powerful, successful energy. We have the Ten of Cups, a very loving family energy, and often family energy in a larger fashion, as we'd say our elven family, not simply an immediate family. And the Nine of Pentacles, or Dis, which would indicate financial, successful evolution of one's efforts in the world. So that's a really good sign for the near future, achieving what we want in a relationship fashion, achieving what we want in terms of succeeding in the world in a material way, and also establishing ourselves in our will in our lives. For us as individuals, and I don't mean myself, but our elven family overall, all of us seeking to manifest our elfin and fey nature in the world, we have the Eight of Swords, which is often a place where there's a struggle, but there's a pause in the struggle, a place where we can just relax. There's a breathing place in the midst of the struggle. In the environment, we have the the Emperor in the major arcana of the Tarot, and that often indicates dealing with the world. It can be establishing yourself in the world, your own realm, but it can also be dealing with the powers of the world. The hopes and fears and visions is the 12 of the major arcana, and this often indicates the Hanged Man. Here we are somewhat paused. We're waiting for something else to happen or be revealed to us before we proceed, and the outcome is the Knight of Cups, actively pursuing things in a loving way in the world, the King of Wands, mastering our willpower and using our willpower to master ourselves in the world, and the Knight of Swords, actively pursuing our ideas and our activities and our creative projects in the world, and using those to successfully navigate the world and get what we wish to achieve. We hope you've enjoyed this today, and many bright blessings upon you.